Nah rape woman, we nah kidnap woman, nah go beat no woman. Yo, Swanny just dropped the new song, tribute to woman. You don't know, I don't know if you watch it yet, you don't know a couple minutes, so kinda new with the review. You don't know when all the time for waste, so now go get straight tonight. You don't know the man start the song with us. Song by saying, never touch the woman them. Since me small, me know. You see me? Before you touch I do, you should ask. You have to ask her, well, I'm kind of fumble the words them, but me go listen it back as soon as me done it. Fresh, you know? Cause it just dropped. Remember me I tell you say like, less than 10 minutes ago the song drop and me give it couple listening. Cause you don't know the video go viral from the other day. You man Plumpy Boss in the studio and a freestyle. And from we see the beat and hear the style, you don't know. Something classic. We have a lot the road. You see a bag of comments start dashing already. A whole heap of people start watch it already. Start share it around. Me see it on a whole heap of status already. Believe me, this is another viral one from Prince Swanny. In a moment like this when the country a cry, the country a plead. You see me? Tribute to woman, we think this is going to be another classic song. Down in the second verse, the man a say, yo, you can't tell her what for wear. You see me? Cause you don't know, say the woman, them have to look good at all times. Them like feel sexy, them like, you see me? Put on them half of clothes and them piece of clothes and when sometimes them roll out naked. You see me? There's one little part that cover up the peas and the peas and the bees. You see me? You don't know them thing there with the man, them not for really pick up on them head. Can you hear Chap Boss song already? So facing a big problem, some man a make the same thing they are mad them. Come on, man, we need better. You see it? We love the song from Prince Swanny. It's a great song. We're going to listen piece more right and come back right again. Watch his style. Say we not touch, yo.
Them like Benetton. Every rape a man a feed them down. We not rape woman.
Malcolm 16. Third verse. Bad enough. Yo. We have to go listen to this, and I advise everybody to go over Prince Swanny channel and go check it in. The link I go pin down below in the description or in the comment section and just look out for it. Leave a comment and remember to tell them say Chap City Entertainment selling over there. Shit, out here, right?
I wanted the father to be notified and the family to be notified first before I made this information public. And here we go. I could tell you that Professor Daisley report and his findings are not inconclusive, and they found the reason for her death. Andrea was struck on the forehead with something blunt, and what that caused, she fell back and her skull fractured and there was hemorrhaging inside. In fact, the whole area inside the skull, you could see where it was pinkish red, which meant that that entire area there was hemorrhaging. So basically she died from internal hemorrhaging. When she got hit to the head, she fell backwards, and what happened is that her skull fractured and she died. Also, what is interesting, and of course Professor Daisley has to verify this, but there was an area on her arm where they found punctures, needle marks, and he has to verify if that was done by the previous pathologist still, or if that was an area where Andrea was she was injected. Because on the video itself, in fact on the picture itself that I saw, there was 2 puncture wounds, and those that puncture wound is very visible. So it has to be verified if that occurred before, or the pathologist that did the report before made that puncture mark. What is interesting is that if you're doing an autopsy, the entire cavity of the body, the brain, everything is open. So therefore you normally would not have to go through the arm to do a swab or a blood test. So therefore, personally, and like I said, I have no training in this field, I doubt that that was made by the pathologist. The fact of whether she was raped or not, that is to be verified. That is to be verified because samples were taken, and what happened is that, of course, it would be verified in about a week's time if she was indeed raped. But the facts are clear that this is not inconclusive. And what have me really pissed here now is that that pathologist that did that report in such a short space of time, the question is, how many reports that he, she, it, or whatever did before that were inconclusive and did not give the factual information in terms of what was the cause of death? Because if we could pay, and I thank the 2 persons that came forward with me to pay for this, because now we know exactly why it happened. A man could come here outside of the forensic center and do an autopsy, and in a few hours time get these findings, especially for something as big as this, especially for something like this that has made the news, that is causing so much protest all over the country. So for those of you who are just joining us, let me repeat what the autopsy report stated. Andrea was hit to the forehead. Blunt. Something hit her hard. I'm talking about massive blow to the head. Fell back. And whatever she fell back on, her skull was fractured. And it caused internal bleeding and hemorrhaging. Also, what happened is that there was an area where the stomach, they say that, you know, there was, it was a particular color. So therefore, it showed that either she was not being fed or she was not eating. One out of the 2. So there we have the results. And all I could tell you is that I am pissed.